We are back. News Talk 980 CKNW. As promised, Jay Onrait, former TSN broadcaster, now, of course, down south at Fox. His latest book, that's his second book. It's called Number Two. We'll ask him how he came up with the title. Jay joins us in studio. Jay, how are you?
Great, Shane. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. You got the Movember. Is that a Movember thing or you just do it now?
God, I wish I could just grow this all year round, but it would be divorce number 2. That's the number 2 reference there, Shane.
Oh, really? That's what it was.
Right?
Very, very nice.
Right.
Before we talk about the book, how long ago was it that you moved south? About a year and a half? Or
2 years ago. 2 years. Yeah, just over 2 years ago, yeah.
What's the ride been like?
Awesome. I mean, just a blast. Fox, despite, I understand you probably were just discussing Fox News and stuff.
Not to be confused with Fox Sports.
Well, this is just it. You know, when I first said I was going down, I live in a very... how do I say it? I lived in a very progressive part of Toronto in Kensington Market where they vote NDP or NDP. And when I told everyone I was going to work for Fox, I was immediately shunned and told to pack up my things and leave. But really, yeah, we're so separate and so different from them. And Fox Sports has been really great for us. If anything, they wanted us to be even wackier than we were at TSN. You know, they wanted us to push the envelope more. They're very, as they say, talent-friendly company. So, yeah, it's been terrific.
And what's the response been like? Again, because they don't want you to hide your Canadian roots.
No, actually, if anything, they want us to really get it out there even more. You know, we're the ones who are like, yeah, maybe we should dial it back a bit, you know, and we don't want to kind of inundate them, totally hit them over the head with it. But it's been great. I mean, we're going against a real sports juggernaut in ESPN that's been around for 30 years and has been established in America for so long, has so many great properties. It's an uphill battle for us for sure, but we knew that going in. You know, I remember when Sportsnet started in this country, it's going great for Sportsnet now, but for 20 years it was pretty rough.
They were the little brother.
They were, and there were some serious ups and downs. You know what I mean? Like the evolution of Sportsnet, now it's going so terrific, but there were some times when it was real rough over there, and so we were aware that it was going to be a long process for sure, Shane, and so it's been fun. I mean, the best part is, and what I say always to young broadcasters is, you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's listening, you just have to do the job and enjoy it, and that's kind of what we've been doing, and it's been great so far.
I used to say it was always better than having a real job.
Right. Oh, and it is. I mean, I would never ever suggest that I have ever had a real job.
The worst day is still awesome.
The worst day, I'm sitting watching Creighton Villanova college hoops and eating a salad at my desk and waiting for the director to call me to set so I can read highlights and then go home. I have it pretty good.
Besides work, Jay Onrait joining us on the line in studio. What about living south of the border? Was that an adjustment at all? It's similar but different than here?
Yeah, it's most similar, I suppose, to Vancouver and the lifestyle and stuff, if you're talking about Canadian cities, but certainly different in the sense that it's it's so sprawled out. I mean, LA is just an urban sprawl times 20. We live in Santa Monica, which is by the beach and a beautiful spot for sure. We have a surprisingly easy commute, about 20 minutes. For LA, it's about as good as it gets. So I love it. I think it's an amazing city. It's super multicultural, just like Vancouver. Tons of food stuff. You know, my wife and I are huge into food, so we love it. So yeah, we're great. My wife probably had more of an adjustment because for her, she lived in Toronto her whole life and born and raised there. Never even learned to drive. So now, if you can't drive in LA, you're really
stuck.
You're marooned, so to speak. So she's had more of an adjustment than me. She always says, I miss the seasons. And I'm like, I grew up in Athabasca, Alberta, where it had to be minus 40 for the buses not to run. Not minus 39, Shane. If it was minus 39, get those buses going. The kids are going to school. But if it was minus 40, so twice in my whole life, school was canceled because it had to be minus 40. I'm done with the seasons, Shane. I'm good with one great season where it's 25 degrees every day and sunny. I'm good with that.
We got to take a short break. News is up next. When we come back, we'll talk to Jay Onrait about the new book, Number Two, More Short Tales from a Very Tall Man. You're listening to News Talk 980 CKNW. We are back. News Talk 980 CKNW 4:35-ish. It's Sunday. We're here with you for another 25 minutes or so. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We are joined in studio. We'll continue our conversation with Jay Onrait, formerly of TSN. Now, is it Fox Sports or we say Fox Sports 1?
It's actually now, Shane, it's FS1.
Oh, FS1.
Because we thought Fox Sports 1 was too much of a mouthful.
Yeah, Foxman Shane 1, FS1. The new book, number 2. Now, the first book, Anchor Boy, do you just like the process of writing? Is it that you're going, you know what, I just enjoy it? Like, I'm assuming you're not going, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to make $1 million, that's my plan. Or did you just go, you know what, why?
Anyone who's written a book in this country knows you're
Right.
not making $1 million.
Right.
It's part of, there's a few things. One is what you said. I do enjoy the process. I really like writing. Always did. Always wanted to write. First book was more about the industry that you and I are in. I had so many young people ask me, what do I do to get in the industry? And I just wanted to tell my story about being in the industry from a positive spin, because I had so many people say, especially when I was living in Toronto, well, if you're in Toronto, you're going to have to go to Lloydminster and take a job. And I was like, yeah, but that might not be a bad thing. Like, I had so many people treat it like it was a negative thing.
No, buddy, that's the beauty.
It was fun. Like when I worked in Winnipeg, when I worked in Saskatoon, I met great friends. I loved it. I loved those cities. So wanted to tell the story from that perspective. This book, I wanted to squeeze in some of the stories I didn't have. It didn't seem right for the first book. So stories about growing up on the prairies. The first half of the book is essentially about growing up in a small town in Alberta and some of the wacky and nutty things that happened to me there. And then the second half sort of takes me into present day, which is, going to Fox and sort of some of the trials and tribulations we've dealt with working south of the border, some of the differences. And then, of course, we went to Sochi, Russia for the Olympics in 2014. And that was like, if there was like an exact opposite experience of the 2010 Olympics here in Vancouver, that was Sochi. So I wanted to tell those stories too.
What? So, and regale us with a little bit just of Sochi. What made that so polar opposite of here?
Well, it was, we all remember how incredible it was to be downtown for the Olympics when the Olympics were on here. I mean, the city was just alive. It was, you'd walk out and block-long lineups to get into the Hudson Bay Olympic store, and everyone's walking the streets eating Japa dogs and high-fiving each other with their red mittens, and it was incredible. Like, it was just an incredible experience to be here for that. Sochi was different because it was first of all, the Olympic Park wasn't even in Sochi, which is a very pretty coastal town in southern Russia, very pretty town. It's a vacation town. But the actual Olympic Park was in Adler, which is essentially a suburb of Sochi. And the park itself was on what was essentially an abandoned lot. Mm-hmm. And so we were like in like pure communist Russia. I mean, they talked about the dogs, the stray dogs walking the streets. Yes, they were there. But it was just like living in the 50s when we would open our doors and let our dogs run out and then they'd come back at the end of the night. Like, that's what Sochi was like. They weren't like stray dogs. They were people's dogs. They were just letting them run around. And then, we were staying in a hotel that was, I think they classified it as a boutique hotel.
Well, that's always a nice way of using the description.
Yeah, I mean, it was better. Other people had way worse experiences, bad toilets, brown water. Ours was fine. It wasn't complete. It wasn't finished. Nothing was done. The food was like a bad all-inclusive. But I will say, and I do talk about this in the book, maybe the best experience or the best thing I took from it was the people. The people were just sensational, the Russian people. Just when you really sat down with Russians, real Russians, for 2 weeks and just lived with them and just talked to them and got to know who they were as people. Exceptionally nice folks. Every time Putin would come on the screen, I can't say it's the B word, BS.
Yeah.
They would all like look up at the screen and say BS. And it was so funny to me. I was like, we're not all that different. We're so far away from each other. I guess maybe we have a hard time relating to each other, but that was the thing I took away the most, is that the people were so passionate as we were when the Olympics were here.
Jay Onrait joining us in studio. Is that the best part of the job you have chosen? Was the things you get to do, the people you get to meet, that maybe, again, if I decided to be an accountant, it would have been great, but I don't think I would have been, saw and done the things I did.
Maybe. For me, it's not just the things I get to do, but the people I get to work with. And, going to the States now, you're always curious as a Canadian. I don't know if everyone's curious, but I was always curious, like, could I make it down there?
Sure, of course.
Could I have the same level of success that I had up here down there? And, after being there for a little while, you realize, it's not any different. They just have more money. They have more money. They have more people. The story I always tell is at TSN, we had 2 robotic cameras and 1 person running the robotic camera. and an intern running the teleprompter, because we also had an intern run the teleprompter, Shane, just to terrify the hell out of them, right? To see if they had the moxie to last. And so that was who would be up with us. It would be 2 people and Dan and myself. At Fox, we have 15 people on the floor. I mean, camera guy, assistant to the camera guy, jib operator, steady camera operator. The teleprompter operator is a unionized job. It's like working for the CBC in the 60s, Shane. That's what it's like.
Nice, because they used to stick the first person, that intern, get them to run the prompter.
It was a perfect way to see, do you have the metal?
It's not an important job at all. It only affects the on-air product. Just have that kid in there.
Well, I remember when I started at TSN back in '96, Jim Van Horn was hosting the Supper Hour show, and Jim was an amazing broadcaster, voice of God. But if things didn't go well, Jim would let you know it. So, man, I mean, just to hear Jim's booming voice, if you fell behind him a little bit on that teleprompter, God, I still wake up with nightmares about that, Shane.
No, it's funny. Where can people, you have a book signing tonight, where can they see you?
Chapters Metrotown in Burnaby. I'm going to be there tonight at 7 o'clock. James Cebulski, another local broadcasting star, is going to be there doing a Q&A with me. So we're going to talk about the state of the Canadian broadcasting industry. That'll be 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
That'll be a
exactly.
3-minute conversation.
Yeah.
And then we'll do a Q&A, and then we'll be signing books afterward.
Well, that's awesome. Listen, Jay, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. And good luck with the books. So you're just crisscrossing the country on weekends? That's your plan?
All over the country. I'm in Calgary tomorrow. Boo! And then I'm in Toronto at the end of the month, and it's just been awesome going across the country. Love it. Can't wait to retire here.
Yeah, retire the keyword. Jay, thanks for your time today,
Thanks,
buddy.
Shane.
Continued success. We're up against it. We're going to take a quick break. I'm Shane Foxman. You're listening to News Talk 980 CKNW.